We'll talk a little about mobile and multi-device stuff doing with Drupal. And well, let's go. So just a word about just Ajax, the advertisement slide. We are doing big projects mainly in France, but well, we can do it anywhere. So today we're going to talk about mobile, and mobile, it's a lot of stuff. Everybody thinks we are doing mobile, everybody loves to do mobile, everybody thinks doing mobile is easy, but what exactly is mobile? First of all, mobile means multi-device. Today we see many devices accessing internet, like mobile phones, tablets, watches, and TV. So it's not only that something that is moving mobile. Then another big thing is the touch interfaces. We're doing mobile websites or application. We are dealing with touch interfaces mainly. Another thing that is almost always forgotten when we doing some mobile websites or application is that it should be used in the real life usage context. I mean, we'll see how. Last thing is that usually, and we have a poor quality internet. I mean, not always. We have all 3G stuff, but sometimes it's going to edge, sometimes going offline. So we have to think about this also. So if you one day release some mobile website, you have to deal with the stuff like BlackBerry or just ugly thing, or Android or iPhone, and then you have to make it work on Nokia, and now you have you see the watches accessing web, so it's kind of complicated stuff to make it work everything. So you have a large amount of ratios, so screen sizes are all different. You have the classical 4:3, you have 16:9, so everything, lot of ratios. You have also so many screen resolutions, like the last iPad 3 have a very big retina screen, but you have an iPhone 3GS, which is a small screen. So you have really to think about how to adapt the content of your website or your application to the device. We'll see how. Also, the thing that you have to consider is that you have only touch interfaces. That means that the navigation and all the stuff on your website are accessed by fingers. And the fingers are larger and they're not so agile like mouse. So it's much more complicated to click on a small part of the screen. On the other side, the scrolling is usually very complicated doing with your mouse. Scrolling or your touchpad, it's not easy, but with the touch screens, it's easy to scroll. So you have to put your content vertically and let the user scroll with it. Another thing that usually guys forget is the visual feedback. When you're clicking with your mouse, you have click, 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 click. With your fingers, you don't have this effect. So you have to provide the user the visual feedback that he already clicked on something. That's the most important thing. Usually guys who are coding websites and mobile websites, they forgot that those websites will be used in the real life, because I will not access your website through a mobile device if I not have to. I would prefer doing it on my MacBook or something, but no. So usually when you are testing in your offices and you're testing or conceiving your application, but the real life is, in practice, you are using like that your mobile phone. You are somebody, or in the metro or subway, anything, in your bed, or even like this. So in the real life context, you have to think about the speed and the relevance. So that means remove everything that is not useful for your users. You know, everybody talking about mobile first thing. I think it's not that easy. I mean, if you present to your client, okay, let's conceive first your mobile site, then we add stuff on desktop. Almost 80% of your clients say, what? So I would say just remove useless stuff from the desktop. It's easier. So reorganize your content so the user will see the most important things. And of course, use location if it's relevant. I mean, if you can use location, if it's something that, like store locator or something, that use it. So the poor internet, that's a really important thing, because even if you have 3G networks almost everywhere in Europe or in Asia, it doesn't work all the time. So your content should be always available, even if the connection is lost. I mean, you have all the stuff today, like native apps or HTML5, local storage, to make sure that even if the connection is lost for a short amount of time, your content is still working and the user can still see something. Of course, it's very easy stuff. Your content should be as light as possible, because if you download 2 megabytes images, that's useless. And of course, also your servers have to answer very quickly. And I would say even quicker if you are working on a desktop, because when imagine I'm in a mall buying some stuff and I want to go to the website of the brand, seeing ingredients or whatever, I want to it fast because I don't have time. So everybody is talking about mobile is so important. I want mobile here, mobile first, responsive design. Everybody, why it's so important? Because the traffic is so high, it will be multiplied by 30 by 2016. In Africa and Asia, if your website is international, the mobile web is already 50% of the broadband. So I mean, there's as many mobile internet as broadband. And you all know that we have now 200 million of tablets. So tablets are mobile, even if it's not phones. So usually clients say to me, but why the hell I have only 3% of mobile traffic on my website in Google Analytics? Well, it's kind of usual problem. Maybe because your website is not adaptive to mobile, is not mobile oriented. That means that guys comes one time and never come back. And also you have to think that the mobile search engine optimization is not just related to Google. Usually when users arrive on your website, it's not because they type something in Google, but usually they download something from the app stores, or they following links in Twitter, or they going through Facebook. So that's, I think in the mobile, it's kind of 2 times more important than the Google just. The last thing is that maybe your content is just not relevant for mobile context. I mean, if you are selling jeans, I will not go on the jean web store on my mobile phone. That's useless. So we've presented a little bit what the mobile is, and we'll try to find some solutions with Drupal or with whatever. So here, if you want to address and say, okay, I want to do mobile, how you can do it? The first way, this very trendy thing, is responsive design. That's the easiest way to do it. Thank you. Water. Then you have the mobile theme. I don't like the word of mobile theme because everybody uses, but it's not mobile theme, it's mobile context. We'll see why. The last thing is you can do native application that will be present on the app stores, and you can use PhoneGap and Titanium or do it yourself, whatever. And we'll talk a little bit about local web because it's important for me. So this is kind of by experience. We found after doing many mobile websites and maybe many responsive websites and native apps. So if you, depending of your client and depending of your needs, you will propose something different. From my point of view, like media, for example, media website like newspapers and stuff like that would be better with a mobile theme and native apps rather than responsive, because responsive is not really adapted for that. So the first thing, responsive design. So this is very trendy thing. I mean, everybody's talk about and responsive is everywhere. Just look at that. In 1 year ago, nobody knows about responsive design. Today, everybody talks about. So why? Well, it's extremely cool during a client demo. You have some kind of wow effect. You know, you just show to your potential client the website and the desktop. You reduce the size of your navigator, your browser, and wow, everything is rearranged. Blocks are moving around. I want that. So that works really good. But on the other side, it's a real pain in the ass to doing the HTML, really responsive, because in the desktop you have to care of Safari, Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and now you have to deal with Android, Android B, Android A, BlackBerry, and iPhone stuff, and it just really takes 2 times more. And then you have also to think about the functional and user experience thing, because how you will rearrange your blocks and stuff, it's not so easy. When you start doing it, I mean, everybody saw these nice demos like CSS tricks, and you just reduce it and blocks are rearranging, but those sites are so easy. They are small blocks and that's all. If you're doing a real big website, that's really complicated to think about how we arrange the content and navigation. But you have another big advantage of responsive design, that once you've done the HTML, you guys who are doing Drupal, you have nothing to do. I mean, you did your theme using the HTML and you forgot about the mobile. So that's a good point. So on the side of Drupal, you don't have so many stuff about responsive design. You have, of course, starter kits, themes like Omega. We use it a lot, Omega. It's a good breed responsive starter theme. And that's pretty all. I mean, globally, responsive design has a very low impact on Drupal itself. Maybe panels to move blocks around. And just need to create different image cache presets because it's important to not download big images for small devices. Well, that's really classical examples of CSS tricks. So you switch in media, you have usually three media CSS, and then you adapt it with using GS or whatever you want. So this is something that is really easy and it works. So we got some examples. We did it a lot. So you have your classical desktop version, your iPad version, and then you switch everything all, and you have your mobile version. So the idea is not just to rearrange blocks, it's also to change navigation, remove useless content. So we remove background images, we switch totally the navigation. Another good example is, well, so client asks us to do responsive, so we do responsive. So again, so as you see, the menu have turned into touch interface stuff, and then we go to vertical, and so scrolling is important. So the mobile theme, again, I really prefer the word of mobile context because you don't just switch the theme, the HTML. The first question, when to switch to mobile context, we'll see that usually you switch it by user agent, and but we don't switch theme but also context. Views will be probably adapted. You will not load 10 elements but 5. Panels, of course, are also adapted. You rearrange your system in another way, or your custom models also. You're pretty sure to add maybe some location-based stuff on local storage. And to go faster, if your client doesn't have a lot of budget, you will use jQuery Mobile. It works pretty well. So when to switch, that's the most important thing we noticed, that you should never switch on the Drupal side. It takes much too long time. I mean, if you can, if you have access to your infrastructure, do it on the load balancers or a cache proxy, or even on Apache HTTP level, but never in Drupal. That takes a long of time, so it's really painful for the guy who is using your website. So browse cap or Warful interface Drupal modules, well, avoid it if you can. So well, I just took one example, Varnish. I think it's a Spanish company, so we like it. So Varnish is really easy to switch. So I put a little code here to how to switch to your mobile. What really important is that you check the cookie Why? Because I want to be able, if I'm, for example, it's a Samsung Galaxy Notes, I don't want to go to mobile version of your website. I want to go to the real. So I want to be able to choose mobile or desktop, and then you store the cookie, because it's really helpful when I arrive when my iPad or Galaxy Notes on the website, and he asks me, okay, you stay in the mobile, and then you redirect to your mobile URL or whatever. So that's about 20 lines of code, but it works, and it's so fast. So that's the main ideas. You have varnish redirection, for example, mobile tools or domains to adapt all your websites. So on mobile tools or domains, you will switch your context. You will also adapt your image cache sets, panels, layout, and at the end you have your custom theme, or you're using jQuery mobile theme. It's much faster. Well, jQuery Mobile is kind of touch optimized web framework. Everybody knows it, I think, and you can easily customize it. I mean, only colors, because if you go deeper, it's kind of complicated, and it looks like iPhone. I mean, everybody using that. So they are kind of, it's fast to set up. If you enable jQuery Mobile, it takes you, even if your website is very big, you can set up it in 2 or a couple of days, and items look like native elements, so it's kind of good for your users. They are used to use their iPhone, so they will be not surprised using your website. And it avoids you to think about mobile. So you enable the theme, okay, it works. On the other side, your client has to accept the design of your jQuery Mobile, because it's kind of restricts you. And if you want to hack it a little bit and change all the stuff, it starts to be a little bit hard to hack it. So, and also it avoids you to think about mobile. That may be a problem, because you don't think, you enable it, and okay, it's done. So that's just some live examples. I'm sorry, it's all French sites, because I don't found any good example that we've done in Spain. But well, so you have of course your example, or you have PPR and your example. It's very classical, Société Générale. Okay. So the last way to do it is using native applications. You have today so many ways to do it. You have PhoneGap, Titanium frameworks. It's kind of very easy. So let's say usually when you're creating your native app using Drupal, your app must get some content from Drupal, let's say articles, images, whatever. Usually you need the offline mode work, because I hate applications that the first they do is connect to the internet, and you have to think that the content may be updated on the Drupal site at any moment. So usually the easiest way is to enable services. Just enabling services module, you get access to the nodes, files, taxonomies, user views. That's really important. So you don't have to, for most of the time, you don't even have to code your services. You just create some views for that. And you have even some security stuff with API key. So, and you have server API that offers you to code your own protocol. So you can, if you don't want to use JSON for any reason, or XML-PC, or you can do it yourself if you like it. Usual problem. Well, services have you have a real leak of structure. I mean, for those who used to consume some web services like Google or SAP or Oracle web services, or any kind of web services, you will be surprised by the leak of structure. I mean, it's just a mess of code there. And you have a big problem is that the SOAP standard is totally crappy, that it doesn't work, and it will not interconnect with some external systems. You don't really have the real WSDL, and usually you have problems with node references, media, and composed fields. So you have to think about that when you are proceeding. So just example, just to create a node with a single body, you have to send all that crap. Of course, in terms of protocols, I would suggest using not SOAP, even not XML RPC, maybe JSON, that would be good, or if you are doing a native app, a binary playlist. So, well, it's what we are using usually. But also we tried another stuff, because services it makes you coding your native app from scratch. I mean, you have to create your interface, coding iOS stuff, a lot of web view, and then you do the same on Android. So what we created is, imagine your whole application is just a big web UI wrapper, and you catch JavaScript events handlers. So that's all. On the Drupal side, you generate your static HTML using Boost module, and you synchronize everything using SVN. So we said, just let's try this. And it works pretty good, I mean. So the danger of that model that usually the web UI support is very slow. It takes about 1 or 2 seconds to load your HTML. I mean, not from the internet, even just to take it from the local storage of your iPad and load it takes 2 seconds. So we had to pre-generate all the HTML with PNG images with clickable zones. Then another complicated stuff is the URL rewriting. I mean, if you are generating HTML from your Drupal theme, then you have links inside, so you have to rewrite it to manage it in local application. And then you have another problem with all the video stuff integration, because then you have to parse object inside and insert native players. Well, so, but we have an example. This is a classical Société Générale Big Bang in France, Drupal side, and then you have the iPad application. You can download it from App Store. It's free review, and all what you see in the application is all generated HTML themes. So there is absolutely no native interfaces or whatever, and everything is just HTML. All navigation is HTML and CSS3 native transition. So just a little bit, that's what we used. Maybe there are many others, but that's kind of models that you can use for sure. Mobile tools is kind of very popular right now. Domain is very light, so if you don't want to have everything that is a mobile tool, that's probably useless, you just set up domain and that's enough. All the rest is okay. So just a little, well, it's not really mobile related, but it's important to say just that local is very often joined with mobile stuff. So it's kind of geocoded content. You can geocode your users, and you have, of course, geographical search. And now if you just put a Google map, even if your client says it does not means that it's local. So for geocoding, you have location module, really nice and useful for 90% of cases. It's managed only point of interest. You have geo module, a little bit buggy, but you can manage polygons and lines on your your maps. And finally, you can have geo field. It's kind of CCK fields now. Well, for the Gmap, it's very easy to integrate. Open layers that you have really nice map effect. You have Mapbox using that, and you have KLM and clustering to display large amount of markers. Just don't put 2,000 markers on the map. It's just messy. One important thing is geographical search. So usually you can ask in the HTML for user location, and what we noticed that MySQL is really not adapted, it's not suitable for the geographical search, because if I don't know if you see the little, that's just to find the closest point of interest around the point. So it, of course, not indexed. What works really cool is Apache Solar 4, that it has special search in distance boxing, so it's really cool. It's easy, so easy to implement with Drupal. And another alternative to go a little bit faster is MongoDB, and then you have now geospatial indexing too, so just use that. It's really easy. The last word, just we launched it yesterday. Pet CMS is the first open source tool to create interactive magazine and tablets. So just request your development account there. It's totally open source, and it works on iPad and Android. So if you have some clients that want that, you can use it. It's free. So well. So thank you. And if you have any questions about more technical, yes.
What do you think about the PostgreSQL for
Yeah, everybody says that for because PostgreSQL. Probably I heard that in Vienna. It's good. I never tried it personally, but from what I heard that MongoDB is kind of 10 times faster. So Postgre is probably okay. I'm sure it's okay because it's used in geographical stuff for ages. But from what I experienced, Mongo is much faster. So probably. Any other question? Sorry, I would. Yes. Drupal, no. Ah, okay. Yes, we tried. Well, I didn't try Drupal, but we tried DrewGap, I think, for the same stuff for PhoneGap, and it's all a little bit crappy. I mean, it's very restrictive. It doesn't really integrate deeply, or it doesn't have enough of abstraction. I don't know Drupalium, but for DrupGap, it's not. It cannot be used right now. I would suggest to do it yourself, create your HTML, and then synchronize using JSON, for example, not BPD. In case of PhoneGap, using JSON is better. PhoneGap is just amazing. I mean, PhoneGap it's Titanium. The problem is that if you want to play a little bit, it works, but when you have to build your application, you have to pay. So it's kind of not really open source. On the other side, PhoneGap is well, even if it's by Adobe now, but it's really nice. I mean, we use it on I mean, 2 or 3 applications, and it goes so fast and easy, and it works. And another way that as it's acquired by Adobe, it have money to develop. So well, right now I think it's the best solution from what we tried. Yep. Yeah. That's I said yes. Usually when you are doing, for example, responsive or anything, you have to scale it using GS or CSS. But again, you don't have to load big images for desktop on your mobile. So usually we set up different image cache presets, and then using domains or using varnish, we just load the right one. So the image cache will create your 3 or 5 presets. Between the presets, you scale with CSS or GS, and using user agent stuff, you load the closest preset. So, or using varnish or using browse cap, for example, even if I said it not to use it. Okay.
what is your preferred switch presets in Drupal?
Switch presets or switch?
Yeah, for example, have a content type display and then.
No. Well, usually not, because if you go into the content type display stuff, then you have to go deeply in Drupal. But from my point of view, it's better to do it on the theme layer. So you do it on the varnish type just for the images, not to go down to the Drupal. So I mean, varnish decides I mean, it depends. If you're doing the responsive design, then you're only using the image cache presets. If you are doing domains or mobile theme, then you switch on the URL, and then yes, you are doing on your content types and display mode and stuff like that. But if you are doing responsive design, there is no reason, because normally from the Drupal side you have only one thing. No. Thank you then. Oh, I'm a little bit. Okay, I saw that I gone really fast. Okay. Sorry. No, usually it takes longer, but yeah. We have time to start another one, so it's no problem. Don't use this. I mean, don't use that. Oh, I don't know. Ah, this one. Yeah. This one. Well, I would say I don't know. It depends of the brown box. On my laptop they are orange, but yeah, I saw. So well, there's no so dramatical difference. I mean, for example, for some small e-commerce websites, you can use responsive. You have some examples of e-commerce responsive themes. But if you have a really big e-commerce site with hundreds of products and categories and listing, then responsive will be a mess and hell to develop. Same for the native apps. For example, if you have a brand like Disguel or something like very cool brand, you have a real reason to be present on App Store and you have a big brand. But if you are some unknown or crappy brand, you don't need to have a native app because nobody will download it because it's not cool stuff to have it on an iPad. So in the same way, I don't know, for example, if you are doing brands, websites, native apps, it depends on the brand, and social network mobility maybe could be suitable, but well, it depends. So well, orange is just, I don't know. So, yep. Sorry? Navigation. Oh, I mean the navigation of the website? Well, I just have to go back to this one. I will show you. So, well, like this, for example, this, I mean the navigation, if you see the menu on the top, that is a desktop menu navigation, classical on the horizontal, and then you switch back to the iPad version, the menu turns on just in CSS on the touch thing, the drop down thing, so you click on the menu and then you have a drop down menu. If you go to net.fr, you will see that so working. And same for the search engine, it's kind of turns out in a more big box. Well, it's only CSS, I mean, from responsive. Yep. Yeah, that's a big problem. We noticed also that if you are doing mobile, for example, iPhone, you detect that you are an iPhone, but iPhone have now different version. You have the iPhone 3GS, who is very small, 320 display size, and you have a Retina big one. So basically, you create a subset. So you create a new version of your website because it's just not just related to images, but also to the text size, fonts and stuff like that. So I had if you send me by Twitter, I will send you a link where the CSS trick to switch again, but I don't have it in my presentation, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Oh, map clustering. Well, you have cluster that you have a GS just cluster. Yeah, yeah, because well, clustering on the server side it starts to be a little bit more complicated because well, you have to how to create clusters. There's in Drupal there's for sure no real modules doing clustering, and clustering is not that easy. You cannot doing it using MySQL because maybe you can do it using MapReduce with some NoSQL thing, but it's not so easy stuff at all. So well, right now cluster is okay for even 10,000 or 20,000 markers. So well.
Started working on the server side.
Oh, so server side.
Yeah, but it's
I hope you will release it. Oh, thank you. Bye bye. Sorry, I go. Well, so thank you. So really important. Pad CMS is a rogue good thing. So just download it. So sorry to be so fast, but you can ask me. Yeah.